Los Angeles. Quiet on set. We're trying to record here. It's been a few years now since the gluten-free era started. It seems to still be quite a big thing. I don't know. Are people still all about being gluten-free? I don't know. I went gluten-free many years ago, probably close to 10 years ago. And the gluten-free products then were garbage, like the gluten-free bread, the gluten-free this and that. But then when it started becoming popular, they figured it out. And now this stuff is really good. But I remember at one point when it was at its peak, and I would see products. I think there are still products like this, but you would go to like a bag of chips and it'll say gluten-free in all caps, in like a third of the front of the bag will say gluten-free, and then in tiny little print would be like potato chips or potato chips. It's hilarious. Like, why are we putting gluten-free in bigger letters than what the product actually is? And for most people who are gluten-free, it's just funny because we know that potatoes don't have gluten. We know that tortilla chips don't generally have gluten unless they're adding flour to it or something. A lot of companies are trying to keep up with the most recent trends and whatever it is that people want. And it feels backwards to me because it's not really about what the customers want. It's about what's best. Because when there's certain hype starts, a lot of these companies follow suit and they're going to put on all their products are going to say gluten-free, non-GMO, no trans fats. And they'll put it on anything. If you really start paying attention, it is on everything. Like, I will pick up a bottle of shampoo and it'll say gluten-free on it. And I'm like, who with celiac disease or gluten intolerance is going to worry about their shampoo containing gluten? So I don't know. I just think it's so crazy. It's gone way overboard, and people equate it to health. And I remember that when I want to say 10 years ago, but I didn't officially become gluten-free until maybe like 2016. So it's probably like 8 years ago that I was like found out that I can't have wheat, so I cut it out completely. Before that, I was kind of trying it, but I wasn't fully gluten-free. It doesn't matter. Completely irrelevant here. But the point I was trying to make is that the gluten-free products that they sold often fools you into thinking that they're healthy. But a lot of times when they're gluten-free, they have to replace it with something else, like rice flour or corn flour or whatever they have to use. And then they add tons more sugar. So it's not really healthier to be choosing gluten-free products. Now, if you go gluten-free and cut it out of your diet, that's different because then you're avoiding the wheat. And if you're replacing it with vegetables or something, that's different. And I know this is like ongoing debate, like, oh, is gluten really bad for you? If you have a sensitivity, obviously you shouldn't be eating it. But eating like good quality, like rye and barley and like healthier breads, it's not that bad for you. I mean, it just depends on your body and everything, and everybody's unique. But that's not really the point of this. That's not what we're getting at today. We're talking about products, and we're talking about how companies will put anything on their products just so you will buy them, because they don't really care about what's healthy or what's best for the consumer. They care about what's going to get it off the shelves. And unfortunately, we have to become aware and educate ourselves to make the best decisions for us, because the companies are not going to do it for us. Something that's always bothered me is the organic thing. I buy a lot of organic produce. I don't really know that it's better. I don't know. I feel like there's so many regulations for something to actually be certified organic. Like, the soil has to be, for 7 years, it has to be free of pesticides or anything that would contaminate the soil. And I don't know how strictly they're enforcing this stuff. I don't know. But if I can, I prefer to have organic produce. But then I think about it and I'm like, how backwards is it that you're telling me that this is safe to eat? This is organic. And the non-organic stuff isn't marked. It's only the organic stuff that's marked. So it tells you how backwards that we live in our society when we promote the things that are, look at this is healthy for you, this is safe to eat, this doesn't have toxins in it. When it should be the opposite. I shouldn't have to do my own research and find out that I shouldn't be having seed oils and all these highly inflammatory foods. I shouldn't, as a consumer, have to do that. The products that I buy should be safe for consumption. I spend so much time trying to figure out what products are safe for me, what's not, what's overhyped. And it's hard to believe or know what to believe because everybody will tell you something different. Like parabens. I'm sure you've heard about parabens being bad, so you need to buy paraben-free products. Parabens are a preservative. And if you don't have parabens, it's like, okay, well then you're going to have a product that goes bad and is moldy, and mold isn't good. So it kind of is a tough choice to make, right? It's not just about, oh, we're trying to save money and we don't care about the consumer. It is also kind of complicated because you're trying to make sustainable products. A lot of companies get away with putting things on their product that just sound good, like saying all natural. But if something is all natural, we have to keep in mind that gasoline is all natural. So if your product has that in it, you can put all natural because it's natural. Natural doesn't always equal good or healthy, but we tend to think that way because that's how we are sold these products. And that's how we're educated, right? A lot of us are like, okay, well, if it's natural, we want it to be all natural, that means it's good. Another thing to watch out for is these skincare products and different beauty products. A lot of them will say tested by dermatologists, which if you think about it, it doesn't mean anything. Just because they tested them doesn't mean they approve of them. It doesn't mean that they liked the products. You want to look for things to say developed with dermatologists, recommended by dermatologists. Those are different meanings. But when you say tested by dermatologists, at first it makes you think, oh, this was tested by professionals, so this must be good. But then when you further really think about it, it's like, well, no, it doesn't mean anything at all. They can just say that because it fools you into thinking that it means something when it doesn't mean anything at all. I think it is so important for us as consumers to become aware of these things. Like I said, I think it's unfortunate that we have to do this research. We have to stay up to date on things. I just want to be able to go to the store and buy what I need and not have to worry about it. But I don't feel safe or comfortable doing that. Like I just read in this book I'm reading by I don't know how you pronounce his name, but it's the history of the sapiens, history of humankind, a brief history of humankind. I'm so bad at names, I apologize. I think it's called A Brief History of Humankind, and it's about our sapiens, right? And I was reading in that, and the author mentions that he went to the store to just buy generic hand cream, and he listed all the ingredients that are in just this hand cream, and he compares it to back in the day when they would just take some olive oil and put it on their hands. Like, things have become so complicated, and of course I understand it's for different reasons. We want it to last on the shelf for a long time, so there are some pros, but what risks are we taking when it comes to our health when we use these shortcuts and hacks? Another thing that brings me to that I want to talk about is we often hear if it's too long to pronounce, if the word is too hard to pronounce, it's bad, right? We were always told that was the standard. Like, don't buy it if it has all these names that you can't pronounce. But if you look up, there's this recent thing that I saw. It was like a picture of an apple, and it said all the contents in the apple. And you can look it up for yourself. Just Google contents of a fruit or contents of an apple, and you'll see a picture, and it'll have the list of all the different names, of all the different chemicals that are in the apple itself. And we think, oh no, the only ingredient is apple. But the apple is consist of different chemical components and everything. So we often think chemicals are bad, right? But it's like, it's not that black and white. It's not that simple that chemicals equal bad, because we're all chemicals. Everything is a chemical. And in particular, when we talk about food, we have to be careful, because that's, again, it's not that simple. And avoiding just these long, complicated names, I don't think that's really the answer. If you're listening to me talk about this here, as someone who's concerned about your health, you're trying to make the best decisions, but you don't want to spend your whole lifetime just researching things and looking things up, there are some things I want to share with you that have helped me greatly in my own life. One thing is the Yuka app. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's Yuka. I think that's just how it's spelled. Get it in the App Store. It's nice because you can scan pretty much anything. I don't think it allows you to scan medications or anything like that, but it allows you to scan most products, skincare products, products that you might be using every day. I don't think it allows you to do makeup. I might be mistaken, but I don't think so. But most foods that you eat, packaged foods, and it'll tell you any risk factors, and it's all based on data, of course. It's not like subjective, someone sitting thinking, no, I don't think this is healthy for you. It's all based on data, and a lot of it is based on studies and research done in Europe, because Europe and the United States, if we compare the two, they have very different ways of determining if something is quote unquote healthy for us or not, or deemed safe, I should say. I think it's important that we educate people to make the best decisions for their own health, instead of telling them that this is bad or this is good or this is a healthy food or this is unhealthy. Which brings me to my next point. This conversation, I think, causes a lot of stress. It stresses us out. If we look on social media, people make jokes about this. I actually had an idea to make like a little skit about like, oh, I'm going to eat fish, and then someone on the news says, oh, do you know that fish has tons of mercury and it's bad for you? And then I was gonna eat some rice, and then, oh, do you know that rice has arsenic and it's bad for you? Oh no, did you know our water's contaminated? I had this idea, and then I started seeing it become a trend. I'm like, damn it, I was too slow. I should have hopped on it sooner. But they're funny, these little skits that people make about, you know, trying to eat healthy, and then every time they eat something, a little person pops in and says, did you know that bread is actually really bad for you, or eggs are bad for you, or whatever it is? According to whatever study and whatever thing, every food has been demonized. I can't think of anything other than like avocados being the maybe one food that like everyone agrees is a health food. Vegans, keto, Mediterranean diet, every main diet that I can think of, most people are going to agree that avocados are like the ultimate health food, and everything else is a little bit more up for debate. But this is what I want to share with you today. Stop stressing about it. Stress is so bad for our health. Stress is a silent killer, and it doesn't help, because ultimately no one really knows. All this stuff is being researched, and different things work for different people. We all have different enzymes. Like some people have developed the ability to digest lactose, and some people haven't. So of course, for those people, it wouldn't be healthy for them to consume lactose, but for some individuals, perfectly fine. Stop stressing so much about what's ultimately the best thing, and start experimenting for yourself. If you feel better not eating dairy, don't eat dairy. If you feel better eating a vegan diet, do that, or keto, whatever. It doesn't even matter the title of it or what the name of it. Modify it to your own needs, and stop stressing so much. I can't even tell you how much of my life I have spent being obsessed with health and finding the best products and cutting out all these bad foods. And then I'm realizing there's never an end to it. Like there's just, recently I heard, oh, you're not supposed to eat cashews. And I'm like, I love cashews. I eat them every day pretty much. And then I just realized it's about moderation. And that's a pretty vague concept. It's hard to say, just eat it in moderation. Well, what's moderation? It's like, okay, well, eat a variety of foods. Make sure that you're eating different kinds of vegetables and fruits. That's ultimately what I would say. Not that I'm a dietitian or a nutritionist or anything, but I would just say just focus on eating real things that are as natural and real as possible, that you can actually see what it is, and that isn't overly processed. and keep it simple. I don't think we need to stress so much about if apples are bad for us. Like, apples and pears have formaldehyde, which is mold. Formaldehyde isn't good. But ultimately, what they say is that the dose makes the poison. And we have to keep in mind that we are consuming little bits of poison all the time. Like I said, rice has arsenic in it, and arsenic is poison. And tons of our food has plastic in it, and mercury in our fish, and all these things. Like, we're really not safe with any food. So it's not worth stressing about it and thinking, oh, this is bad. Just don't over consume it. Don't just have a diet where you only eat French fries or only eat rice. That's not going to be healthy for you. But eat a variety of things. Take this with a grain of salt, because I don't know you as an individual. Maybe you have very specific dietary needs. So again, I'm just saying this in a very general sense. But the key here that I want to get at is stop stressing so much about it. Like I said, stressed about this my whole life. I'm pretty sure I was orthorexic for most of my youth, which, if you don't know, orthorexia is like an obsession with diet and dieting and food and calories and all of that. And it's not good for us. It's not good to obsess. It's not good to be stressing about it so much, because stress isn't good for our health. And if we're trying to be healthy, it's kind of like this paradox that you're trying to eat healthy and make healthy choices in the products that you buy and put on your skin, but you're stressing about it. Sometimes we just need to relax, start focusing on just going outside, taking deep breaths, doing some stretching, all these things that are most vital for us, I think, as humans. And the products that we use and all the stuff, I try to worry more so about what I put on my skin and what I eat every day. And every now and then, I know I probably eat a cookie from the store that probably has a bunch of chemicals in it, but I'm like, I'm not eating that every day, so I'm not really worried about it. But I'm more so concerned about what I do consistently, and I try to make the healthiest choices that I can based on my knowledge. And I emphasized it the way I just said it, because that's all I can do. I can only make the healthiest choices based on what I know. And I don't have to stress about not knowing the ultimate truth or what's the best, or we don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. And like I said, it's not worth the stress. You got to take care of yourself. To kind of summarize what we talked about here today, it's unfortunate that we as consumers have to bear this burden of responsibility to stay up to date on things, to figure out what is healthy, what is not healthy. And it's frustrating that the companies are just selling us what they think we want, not what is best for us. It kind of sucks, but it's also the reality that we live in, and it's the world that we are a part of. So we have to do the best we can with what we've got. And I don't think it's worth stressing so much about these things if you are somebody who's concerned about your health and buying healthy products and taking good care of yourself. The best you can do is the best you can do. That's all I can say. Just do what you know is best and what you think is best, and be open to new knowledge, but don't let it stress you out, because I used to be that way, where it's like, okay, when I was growing up, it was like fat is bad and all the products were low fat, and they replaced it with sugar, and then they found out that was bad, and then the low carb high fat thing became a thing. And it's like every time a new thing came out, I would just like throw my hands in the air and be like, this is impossible. Who's supposed to know what's best? What are we supposed to do? And I just realized I'm not going to let it get to me. I can let it pass through me, like, okay, interesting, this is now deemed an unhealthy food, and I might take it with a grain of salt, or I might ignore it completely, depending on what I think is relevant. And that's the other hard thing, is like knowing where this information is coming from, who's talking about it. Is this research based? Is this evidence based? Is this like just someone's opinion because they think it's bad that we're eating meat or eating certain products? It's hard. I've said all that I wanted to say today and what I wanted to share. If you have any points or anything that you think I may have missed, or you disagree with me, or you agree, or anything you would like to share, please do so. I always love to hear people's thoughts and their experience. And yeah, let's learn from each other. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. This is how it became popular. Like, that's how, no, that didn't make sense.